Hello, beautiful people. I'm Ada. Welcome to Unconventional Counseling. Today, we are continuing our book club series with the 4 agreements. And we're talking about the 3rd agreement, don't make assumptions. As I was rereading this, it really hit. It hit in a lot of ways. So let me read you some excerpts. We have millions of questions that need answers because there are so many things that the reasoning mind cannot explain. It is not important if the answer is correct, just the answer itself makes us feel safe. This is why we make assumptions. We make all sorts of assumptions because we don't have the courage to ask questions. So I didn't think of asking questions, of being curious as a courageous thing. Growing up in an immigrant household, growing up femme appearing to many people, but truly being queer and non-binary, growing up precocious as heck and just like, I saw so many things, I perceived so many things. I loved to read, I loved to, I was just a little nerd. I was so curious about life and I had tons of questions and I was oftentimes told to stop asking questions. I was oftentimes told that I talked too much. So I didn't perceive being curious as a courageous thing. I perceived it as something that some people get really upset about. And over the years, I found that I don't ask as many questions. I still do sometimes, but especially in my spiritual path, especially my spiritual journey, there are things that I just, like a question will not formulate in my mind. And it struck me. It struck me. I was like, oh my gosh. Little Ada had questions about all of life. Little Ada wanted to know why things worked this way and how things could work differently and why certain things were certain colors and has it always been this way, like for everything. For insects, I wanted to know how many butterflies there were. I loved nature. I loved, flowers. I still do. I was so curious about people. I was curious about people's stories. I was curious about people's backgrounds. I was curious about people's names. Did they feel a really big resonance with their name like I did at the time? The name that I grew up with, it meant everybody's daughter. And I was like, all the world is my community. I'm going to be taken care of everywhere I go. I loved it. I loved how it sounded. I loved that it could connect me to people from all walks of life because people felt like my name was connected to the word adorable. So they were just like, oh my gosh, you're so cute. You're so cute. And I'm thinking a lot about my name because I'm actually in the legal process of changing my name to Ada Ad Astra. And it's connected to my spirituality. It was given to me by my guides. It's my name. And so I was thinking about how I make assumptions for myself. I make assumptions spiritually. And I'm thinking about how I didn't even realize that it was about safety. But now as we're talking, right now as I'm thinking back of all of the times that people told me to stop asking questions, it did become about safety. It became about being understood. It became about belonging and being accepted. It became about people liking me. It became about not being critiqued. It became about not making people uncomfortable. Some people get really uncomfortable when you ask them questions, especially when you ask them hard-hitting questions like you're a little journalist, And being a kid, I didn't understand a lot of the stuff about social convention and trying to be nice all the time. I would just see a person, I'd be like, oh, like 8 years old. I'd be like, is that your coat? They'd be like, yeah, you like it? I'd be like, I don't. I was just wondering if it was yours. Some people hated that. My mind still works the same way. Like I perceive people and then I'm wondering, do people love what they're wearing today? Are they in love with it? Are they expressing their personality through what they're wearing? I'm so curious. And I think these things because I'm often thinking about gender expression. I'm often thinking about my own expression of gender and the body that I have and how I want to adorn it. And if I feel like a connection to what I'm wearing, and I don't always feel a connection to what I'm wearing. So I don't always feel like Ada. I do in terms of my soul, I do inside of myself, but when I look in the mirror, I don't always feel like that expression of my soul. So I can walk around through the world making lots of assumptions. And that's just about expression. That's just about why things occur, why people choose what they choose to put on their bodies. There's probably so many more areas. All right, let's continue. We have a fear of being ourselves around others because we think everyone else will judge us. So even before others have a chance to reject us, we have already rejected ourselves. We also make assumptions about ourselves, and this creates a lot of inner conflict. We at times overestimate or underestimate ourselves because we haven't taken the time to ask ourselves questions and to answer them. All right, so today I went downtown to try to get some of the legal name-changey things that I needed. I didn't call ahead. I just, got myself ready and I went downtown. And so I waited in line and I got inside and I told them what I was there for, that I wanted a driver's license with my new name on it. And they said, okay, do you have this and this and this and this and that and the other and the other and the other? And I was like, no. I mean, I have them, I have access to them, but I don't physically have them printed out right now. I don't physically have certain documentation or certain IDs with me right now. And they were like, okay, well, you need all of those things. And I was like, okay. And I didn't really feel that disappointed, which I was proud of. I was like, oh, okay, this sucks, but what do I need to do? I need to go print some of these things out. I need to go home and get some of the documents that I do have. And so I go home, I get the documents that I have. I go to the library, I print out the documents that I need. And I'm walking and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get this done today. Because I can do anything. This has now turned into a 5-hour experience. From the time that I left my house, waited in line, got inside, talked to the people, left, came home, got the things I needed, walked out, went to the library, got the things I needed there, and now I was on a journey back to the origin, back to the place that I started, was my destination, to wait in line again. And I was on my way, and I realized how tired I was. I was like, oh, I don't think I have the energy to do this all over again today. Maybe another day, but today I'm done. And I wouldn't say that it created suffering the same way that Don Miguel Ruiz is saying, which I, again, am glad about. But I did have a little moment of oh, I said I was gonna do this thing today. I really wanted to make movement on this legal process that I'm in. I just want it to be over. I want it to be over so quickly. I want it to be over right now. And I had to give myself a moment and be like, I made assumptions about my capacity. I made assumptions about my energy. I made assumptions about the time that things would take. I was like, I'm gonna affirm that everything will go smoothly and it will all go quickly and I'll be in and out of there in 30 minutes. It's a beautiful thing to set intentions. It's a beautiful thing to affirm things over ourselves. And sometimes when things involve people or timing with the universe, it doesn't always go to the timeline that we want it to or we believe it will. And it doesn't mean that I did something wrong by naming those affirmations or by setting those intentions. They were very specific. They got me all up in the good vibe energy that I wanted to be in. I was definitely feeling good, even up to the point of realizing that my energy was low. But I had that moment of like, oh, dang, I see what happened here. So then after I read this, I started asking myself questions. When would you like to go back, self? Oh, okay, you want to go back immediately. You want to go back tomorrow. When do you actually have the time to? Let's look at our schedule. Let's look at the other responsibilities that we have, or the other things that we even want to do. And I think in certain moments, I forget that we constantly get to be our inner parent. We constantly do. Because our inner child will always be a child, as they are meant to be, especially if some of us have not had beautiful childhoods, or had very complex childhoods, or had childhoods that had so much lack of safety in them. I have an inner child that is very connected to my body, and when I'm feeling tired and dehydrated and hungry and I'm fatigued and I've gone beyond my capacity, my inner child is just like, I just want this done now. I just want it done. Becomes petulant. And if I'm not paying attention, or if I'm just listening but getting annoyed, like an overtired parent, I can miss the opportunity to be so kind to myself. So I'm really enjoying this chapter about not making assumptions, because I'm remembering and I'm realizing that when we don't make assumptions, when we walk back from the assumptions we've made and we ask questions of ourselves, we tend to be kinder to ourselves, because we get to find out things that maybe we didn't even know all the way. Maybe we had slight glimpses of, but maybe we didn't know as much. And I think the same is true for relationship with other people. It's actually an act of kindness. It's actually an act of love. It's actually an act of courage to be curious and to ask people questions rather than make assumptions. However they react, however they respond, for you to do it, it's actually an act of love. So I will leave our book club chapter 3, or agreement 3, because I think it's actually chapter 4 in the book, right here. We'll close this out, and I hope y'all take good care, and I'll catch y'all in the future. Bye.